Good morning, everyone. Today is Sunday, the 3rd of May, and it is our 6th day and level 3 of the COVID-19 alert. So I'd like to welcome you to our Sunday morning message, which is coming to you from Delta Baptist Online. On Tuesday of this week, we entered the level 3 alert in the fight to stop the virus from spreading. Level 3 relaxes some of the restrictions we had while in level 4. And this is, of course, good news because it means we're winning against the spread of the virus. And we hope that this trend will continue so that we will be able to move to level 2, which allows a return to an almost normal way of life. But will we return to the way we were, or will our normal way of life change? After the Canterbury earthquakes, we adopted what became known as the new normal. Will we be creating a second new normal following the COVID-19 pandemic? We already see signs that life will not be quite the same, as some of us will sadly not be able to return to their previous workplaces. Some sectors in the economy, like air travel, for example, and hospitality, will have to make significant changes, and some, sadly, will not survive. And what about our non-work life, our home life, our family life, our social life? Has the time in lockdown or in the restrictions we're having at level 3 made us make changes in those areas? Will we return to doing everything the way we did before the lockdown, or will we make changes? Has this period made us rethink how we live, how we relate to each other, how we shop, and what recreational activities we will engage in? Every big event leaves its mark on our lives. We know that from our own experience and, of course, from history. Sometimes, following a big event, our lives get a jolt, a push, which makes us change. Sometimes we need to change because the circumstances around us have changed. The COVID-19 has certainly created new circumstances. Whole sectors in the economy will have to rethink the way they do business. Others may need to move on to another type of business or trade. But in some cases, we make changes in our lives in order to adapt not only to changes in the circumstances, but because something has jolted us to rethink about the way we see ourselves, our relationships with others, and our relationships with God. The Bible tells us that something certainly jolted Saul to rethink his relationship with God following that famous encounter on the road to Damascus. The story of Saul, who later became known as Paul, is told in the book of Acts in chapter 9, and then retold by Paul, was the same person, but after the change, and again the book of Acts, but chapter 22 and then chapter 26. But let's start at the beginning. Saul, or by his full name Saul of Tarsus, was a Pharisee living in Jerusalem, who after the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus Christ swore to wipe out the new Christian church called the Way. In the book of Acts, chapter 9, we read that Paul was breathing out murderous threats against the Lord's disciples. To achieve his mission, Saul obtained letters from the high priest authorizing him to arrest any followers of Jesus in the city of Damascus. On the road to Damascus, Saul and his companions were struck down by a blinding light. Saul heard a voice say, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?" When Saul asked who was speaking, the voice replied, "I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting. Now get up and go into the city, and you will be told what you must do." That comes to us from Acts 9. Saul was blinded. His companions led him into Damascus to a man named Judas on Straight Street. For 3 days Saul was blind and did not eat or drink. Meanwhile, Jesus appeared in a vision to a disciple in Damascus named Ananias and told him to go to Saul. Ananias was afraid because he knew Saul's reputation as a merciless persecutor of the church. Jesus repeated his command, explaining that Saul was his chosen instrument to deliver the gospel to the Gentiles, their kings, and the people of Israel. So Ananias found Saul at Judas' house, praying for help. Ananias laid his hands on Saul, telling him Jesus has sent him to restore his sight, and that Saul might be filled with the Holy Spirit. Then we're told that something like scales fell from Saul's eyes, and he could see again. He rose and was baptized into the Christian faith. Saul ate, regained his strength, and stayed with the Damascus disciples 3 days. After his conversion, Saul changed his name to Paul. Paul's conversion story is very dramatic, and it speaks of a complete change of heart. It is a most powerful example of a transformation, and although not many have experienced such an intense encounter, it shows the extent to which a person could change from a hater and persecutor of the early Christians to becoming the most determined of apostles, suffering brutal physical pain, persecution, enduring a lifetime of hardship for the gospel, and finally, martyrdom. The COVID-19 pandemic is a significant event and has definitely created a long-lasting change in our lives as individuals, as a nation, and as humanity as a whole. It may impact our lives for years to come in terms of our work life and our social life. The question I would like each and every one of us to ask ourselves at this point is, how is the pandemic changing the way you think about the world, the environment, the planet, your relationship with each other, and most important, your relationship with God? I invite you to pause for a few minutes and think about this question. Perhaps jot it down and ponder about it over the next few weeks. How is the pandemic changing the way you think about the world, the environment, planet, your relationship with each other, and most importantly, your relationship with God? Big jolts are great opportunities for reflecting on our lives, on our past, our present, and our future. We may not experience the intense transformation of Paul, but we may be given a chance of a lifetime for something we have not even considered before. So think about it, ponder about it. It may be a chance of a lifetime. I wish you a very good Sunday. Enjoy the weather. I thank you for being with me, and I hope you enjoyed the message. God bless you, and please join us again online. Thank you. Bye for now.